But you can see the clean Italian lines there. It really was a big improvement on our roads. But it's just something different and something rare.
My name is Pauline Jones. I live in South Wales and I'm the owner of a 1952 A40 sports car. I originally had a car like this in the 1960s and I've always wanted another car the same. So 2 years ago, when we saw one advertised, we bought it in Tenby in another part of South Wales. It was literally tied together with string, and we brought it home and did a complete restoration on it. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to find our old sports car. We're still looking, we're still hoping to find it. I had this car in the 60s and I used it when I was at college. I also used it when I had my first job travelling all over the country, and then I met my husband, Gwyn. We used it as a love bug, and we kept it until the children came along, but unfortunately it wasn't big enough for carry cots, so we sadly had to sell it, and it wasn't until recently, as I say, that we bought our second sports car. My love for the Austin sports car is really sentimental. As I say, I used it when I was a youngster and it takes me back to my youth. I also love it for the fact that during this beautiful sunny weather you can have the top off and you can go anywhere and you really enjoy yourself driving it. The A40 has an aluminium body. It was originally built by Jensen. The floor is steel. It has a 1200cc engine, twin carburetors. There were approximately 4,000 of these cars made. Most of them were for the export market, although some obviously stayed in this country. As far as I know, there are about 80 left worldwide, and we're very lucky that we have 4 of them. The other 3 are in various stages of restoration, and hopefully those will go on to be sold. Since buying our first sports car, my husband has become something of a collector of these classic cars, and unfortunately for us, because we live on a farm, the barn is now becoming full of cars and the sheep have to go outside.
I got interested in cars, these classic cars. We were on holiday in Cornwall and an Austin A40 Sports passed us on the side of the road, and having one of these cars in the 60s when I was courting brought back a lot of memories, and I looked in all the ads in the papers, free ads, looking for one of these Austin Sports, and by chance there was one in the free ads. I rang up about it and it was in Tenby, and we went the following morning at 9 o'clock off, and I bought the car by lunchtime. My wife thought I was mad when she saw it all tied together with string. Well, eventually we made arrangements to get it home, and when I got it home I didn't know what we were going to do with it because it was in such a state, and it took us 18 months of a lot of hard work to get the car as it is today. Well, over the years I've become a collector of some form. I had several sports cars and we couldn't drive them all, so we decided to sell one, and I took an Austin Hereford in a swap for a sports car, and then we spent 12 months restoring that Hereford, and we've got it as good as we could as you see it today. The Austin Hereford has got a 2.2 engine which we tow a caravan to when we go to the shows. We have a bit of enjoyment out of the Hereford. If the weather is not very nice, we leave the sports in the barn and take out the Hereford. And since I've caught the bug, as you can see, we've got a barn full of old cars and we're spoiled for choice. The Austin Hereford differs from the A40 Somerset in that the A40 Somerset was a four-seater with a small engine, and the Hereford was a much bigger car, 10 to 12 inches wider, and it was classed as a six-seater for its day in the early 50s. And it was in its day a very nice car to drive. It's still a very nice car to drive today, but it is a very, very heavy car. We didn't have a lot of work to do on the Hereford, other than do the bottoms of the doors were eaten away, and also the wheel arches had to be renewed, and some of the both back wings had to be restored. Other than that, the chassis and the underneath of the car didn't need any welding whatsoever. One of my other cars, which I purchased recently, is an Austin Devon. Now, that's virtually the same as the Austin A40 Sports and the Austin Somerset. The only difference being is that it's got a floor change and not a column change like the other cars. There were thousands of these cars on the road. Austins, you could see more Austins than anything on the road. During the 50s, the Austins were a very popular car. You'd see thousands of them out on the road. And the Austin logo at the time was, "Buy Austin, you can depend on it." In the beginning, my attraction to the Austins were the 30s Austins, because they were cheap vehicles. All these new models started coming out in the middle 50s, and the only thing that I could afford was a 1937 Austin, and I stuck with Austins for most of my life. I then purchased an Austin Devon in the late 50s, and then I met my wife with a Austin A40 Sport, and I think that's what caught my eye, and I've always liked Austins ever since.